Yeah, I know the video's late and it's not January anymore unless I become a fucking god and finish this before Friday. It's Thursday as I'm editing this. Basically, I just didn't feel like uploading last week because I felt like I had earned a break after the 40-minute Young Defiant video, but I've had the script done for like 2 weeks now, so here you go. Enjoy it. So around the time I made last week's Young Defiant video, there was a guy. His name is Michael Does Life. So unlike Young Defiant, who at least seems mentally stable, Michael Does Life, well, this man is fucking insane.
Colors weave into a spire of flame. Distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night. Search your soul and reawaken the undying light.
So, if you were to ever look up Michael Does Life, he's basically the Joey's World Tour of video games. He just posts the most insane shit, and there is no way in hell this man is mentally stable. Now I'm 90% sure this guy is just a troll, but there's always that 10% that this guy is actually retarded. So basically Michael Does Life is pretty similar to Young Defiant. They're both god-awful YouTube channels that rant about popular things for views. They both have fucking horrifying laughs. Now you might be saying, Josh, it isn't nice to make fun of the mentally insane. You even admitted Joker being your favorite movie of 2019, which is true, but then again, answer this truthfully. Am I a nice person? I didn't think so. So yeah, we're gonna be bullying this mentally insane man called Michael Does Life. So let's just start with his first video.
I tried telling you guys that the cracks were starting to show here with this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3, but you didn't want to listen. Oh no, because you were too busy going...
So some pros that I can give to this guy so far is that he actually has the decency to show his face, even though he kinda looks like some main character ripped straight out of a GTA game. It's like me recording myself on camera. I look fucking retarded. But yeah, and the audio quality is actually pretty nice so far.
Too busy doing stupid, silly crap like that at the end of the day is going to get you fake Resident Evil fans nowhere.
I still haven't played a single Resident Evil game yet. I know, don't shoot me. I'm still trying to get around to playing Resident Evil 4, but for now the closest thing that I've gotten to a Resident Evil game is The Last of Us. But I can't really see why people are calling him a Young Defiant 2. He's just kind of retarded.
I mean, look, here's the reality of the situation. You are a fake Resident Evil fan. That is very clear to me. I mean, after all, you jumped off that bus in Fortnite, and now you've landed in Raccoon City.
What? What the fuck? So he jumped off the battle bus in Fortnite.
It's Monopoly Fortnite!
And now since Fortnite's dead, we're playing Resident Evil. If Fortnite players are doing anything now after playing Fortnite, they're playing some other generic shooter like Call of Duty or Rainbow Six Siege or fucking Apex Legends. They wouldn't go to Resident Evil. They're not that smart.
And now you think you have that certified badge. Oh, Michael. But the reality, folks, of the situation is that you don't have that certified badge. You know who does have that certified badge? World-class veteran video game critic.
Just because you have over 10K doesn't mean that you're a world-class video game critic. A video game critic would be people who actually make a point. People like The Dishonored Wolf, which his channel isn't up anymore, but you can still find archives of his videos. And I definitely recommend you to go check them out because he's really one of the best smaller critics I've ever seen. But a real video game critic would maybe be The Completionist or any of the people at IGN, but they give Jedi Fallen Order a higher score than Luigi's Mansion 3, and The Completionist thinks Mario Odyssey is better than Breath of the Wild, so neither of those sources I listed were really good critics, but whatever. Give it to Samuel Thompson. Yep, Samuel Thompson is a game critic. Fuck, what did I just do? Okay, so just another side note here, guys. So, his last, like, 5, 6 videos were just him basically uploading the same thing over and over again basically every day. Just read these titles. Resident Evil 3 is Capcom's $1 billion mistake. Resident Evil 3 is Capcom's $2 billion mistake. Resident Evil 3 is Capcom's $3 billion mistake. Resident Evil 3 is Capcom's $4 billion mistake. Resident Evil 3 is Capcom's $5 billion mistake. And then he also has the Resident Evil 3 remake problem. I looked at like most of these other videos and they're basically just saying the same thing. So like, Michael, if you're watching this, which I know you aren't, but just try to be a little less hungry on the views. I'm blocking out the two things right here because those are for later in the video. Yeah, so yeah, Michael, just try to be a little bit less hungry on the views, please.
Michael does live. You see, unlike you, I'm a real Resident Evil fan. And not only that, but unlike you, I mean, I've been there since day one.
This guy has to be a troll. He says he's been with Resident Evil since day one. He's holding up a Silent Hills disc. What the fuck?
You, on the other hand, again, came from Fortnite to this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2.
Like I said before, they, on the other hand, did not go to Resident Evil 2 from Fortnite. They went back to COD or GTA. Like I said, Fortnite players are not this smart.
And now you're looking forward to this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. And the reason for that is because of Project Resistance. You can't wait to get into that multiplayer component and go, oh my god, Capcom, they're gonna fill my Fortnite fix.
Why the fuck do I do this for you guys? I have to suffer through these weird as hell YouTube channels just to prove a point, and one that will most likely get a huge amount of hate for, but you know what? It's worth it. To know that 24 people didn't subscribe to Young Defiant is worth it. It's small, but it's a change.
Folks, the reality of the situation is that this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3 is nothing but shit on the bottom of my shoe. How can you defend the lazy millennial devs over at Clueless Capcom? How can you sit there and say that they're hitting a home run here with this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3 when they're literally removing things? They are taking away no mercenaries mode, no multiple endings, no choice action mechanic returning, all of that.
You know what? He has a point. I personally don't think he should say his opinion on the game when it isn't even out yet, but yeah, they did take all of those features out for the remake, and yeah, if I were a Resident Evil fan, I would be pissed off a little. So, congrats, Michael. You're better than Young Defiant, but you're still the king of clickbait.
Has been scrapped, and arguably that's what made Resident Evil 3 Nemesis 1999 so unique in the first place. So what Capcom is doing is they're not remaking Resident Evil 3 Nemesis 1999. Oh no, they've made an all-new Resident Evil game that's loosely, and I mean loosely, inspired by Resident Evil 3 Nemesis 1999.
Shouldn't that be a good thing? I mean, everyone complains about the Disney live-action remakes because they don't try anything new, so I think it should be the same with games. Like, imagine if they remade the Link's Awakening game without any new content at all. That would piss off a whole lot of people, and they would basically be taking a $5 game on the 3DS eShop and just coloring it again. Sure, it might look better and run better, but just for a few new features and no new content at all, there basically would be no point in buying it.
And yet you want to sit there and go, oh, Michael, this is a remake. No, it's anything but a remake. The reality, folks, of this situation is that this franchise, thanks to you fake Resident Evil fans that jumped off that bus in Fortnite and now landed in Raccoon City, it's in the shitter. But you don't care. You never have and you never will because you were too busy going...
Okay, so that was a weird first impression. So basically in all his other Resident Evil 3 videos, he's basically saying the same thing. They're removing features. You came from Fortnite to Resident Evil. And I am a true Resident Evil fan, just in different ways. If he took a shot every time he said, you came from Fortnite to this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3, you would literally be dead. I mean, so he does give a few pretty good points how they're taking away features. But, like, the game's not even out yet. It's like, them taking away stages in Smash and still calling it Smash Ultimate. Like, it's not even out. It wouldn't even been out yet. So, just I have a few more videos I want to look at. So let's just keep going.
It's over. You Sony fanboys have lost. PlayStation is dying. It's official. Folks, I just got done with the state of play. And I gotta be honest with you, bro. I was bored out of my skull with that. You know what I mean? Like, they start the state of play off with this pretentious indie title called Humanity. And while it looks cool on paper, usually these indie games last you about 10 minutes worth of fun and then you move on. Looks like literally a game that could have been made in dreams, and plus it's not coming out.
So I'm not a Sony fanboy or anything, but I guess the Humanity game is coming out this year, so that should mean sometime in May or June, but whatever.
Out anytime soon. So literally no one cared about that. Then they move on to a bunch of other crap that still no one cares about.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. The only significant thing in this state of play, other than The Last of Us Part 2 getting a release date, which was sadly delayed until May, was The Last of Us Remastered being free with PS Plus. But the thing is that I wasn't a fan of The Last of Us back then, 3 months ago, so I couldn't scream at my friends to play it, and what do you know, it's too late. So yeah, nothing really happened in that state of play on that day except for The Last of Us Part 2. He gives points at least, which is something that I can't give to Young Defiant, so yeah, good job.
Ultimately, to get to the point of the state of play, which was to show more of The Last of Us Part 2 off, and the stuff that they showed off in regards to that game, like, first of all, the game was downgraded, and I told you Sony fanboys that this was going to happen, but you didn't want to listen. Oh no, because you thought, oh Mackle, the PS4 is so powerful. Shit!
Really, half of every single video that he makes is just him making these scary ass faces.
No! It's not powerful. And that's not coming just from veteran video game critic Michael Does Live. Oh no, there are many developers out there that think the same way. But you can't get that through your head because you're too busy going, too busy doing stupid, silly crap like that at the end of the day is going to get you nowhere. Folks, this is hardware from 2013, and obviously with The Last of Us Part 2 here, they had to cut corners. They had to make compromises.
Yeah, they had to do that with the first game, but it still feels like a modern gen game, and they're going to do the same with Part 2, and it's going to end up the exact same way, and it's going to be just as good, so point.
But more importantly, we put aside that technical stuff. More importantly, you have to sit there and you have to ask yourself, was there really enough meat on that bone here to justify doing a sequel?
You don't know that yet. I don't know that yet. I mean, if they made it, they probably had enough. I think the first game left on a pretty big cliffhanger, and I know there was a whole bunch of unexplained things in the first game that the second game could take further on. Not to mention, people love these characters, these stories, this world, so to make a sequel would basically be a no-brainer. It's like Nintendo going, should we make a Mario sequel? Like Super Mario Bros. Total Bunch. But is there really enough material here to make a second game? Fuck yeah, you should make a second game. It would satisfy the fans of the first game, and it would satisfy your wallet. No shit. Simple business strategies, Michael. Simple business strategies.
Because in some other alternative timeline, had Naughty Dog said, you know what, we would love to do a sequel, but we just don't think that's right for The Last of Us. We told the story that we wanted to tell, and we're moving on. Had that happened, I think the first game would have been regarded as an instant classic. But now,
not really. The first game is a modern day classic and should be compared to other modern day classics like Breath of the Wild, The Witcher 3, Mario Odyssey. It tried a new thing by showing how games can tell a great story while still being fun to play. Sure, The Last of Us doesn't focus too much on the gameplay, but the cool thing about the gameplay is that it builds character development.
now that they did a sequel, and we're starting to learn more about it, it's starting to kind of devalue what the first game kind of brought to the table. And when I look at sort of what's kind of happening here with The Last of Us Part 2, I sit there and I think to myself, like, okay, the lesbian friend dies, you gotta get revenge. Joel looks like he's kind of on the back burner here in The Last of Us Part 2, and it's all about Ellie and her story. And
First of all, nobody truly knows what this game is going to be about as of January 23rd. We know it's mostly going to be focused on Ellie, and it's going to be even darker than the first game, but that's about it. We know Ellie wants to kill people, and it takes place after the first game. So much of the game is just left a mystery, so you really can't say whether the story is going to be a generic cash grab of a story, or it's actually going to be feeling like they had planned this from the beginning, which, knowing the people who made the first Last of Us game, it probably will feel like they've been planning this from the beginning.
You know, this, that, and the other, and it's like, well, I mean, that's okay, I guess, but it's not like, wow, that's a really cool way to continue this journey here. So, technically speaking, it's going to suffer on 2013 hardware known as PS4.
You act like 2013 hardware is going to seriously affect the game. Let me show you what The Last of Us Remastered looks like versus The Last of Us Part 2. If you can't see a massive difference in graphics quality, then you just have to be blind. Also, not to mention all the other things this game is supposed to have. The gameplay is supposed to be even more realistic than the first game, allowing you to slip through walls and hide under cars, and the AI will literally have names, and they'll react to how you kill other AI, which will make you feel sympathy, I guess. I'll see when it comes out.
Creatively, I don't think there's enough juice in that tank to say, okay, this is really the reason that's going to justify doing a sequel to The Last of Us. You know what I mean? But I know you can't wrap your head around that because you're a Sony fanboy and they can do. But just know that PlayStation, they're losing the next generation already.
Yep, losing the next generation already. I quote exactly. The PlayStation has been recognized by the Guinness World Records as the world's best-selling home video game console brand, having sold 450.19 million units over 25 years, Sony Corp's game business unit said Tuesday. Total loss. PlayStation sucks.
They have no software, and that is so apparent. It's so unbelievably sad.
No software. Horizon Zero Dawn. God of War, The Last of Us Remastered, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima. No software at all. Come on, Sony. Where's Knack 3?
But you don't care. Sony could sell you a piece of shit. A game where literally a piece of shit floats in the air and you would all be there day one. Sad.
So now we were going to look at 2 more videos, but I really don't feel like wasting your time repeating things. But basically all I said in that part was The Last of Us Remastered was made because it was more convenient for people who haven't experienced the game yet. If you played The Last of Us on PS3, good for you. You played a fucking phenomenal game. Don't buy it on PS4. But if you didn't play it on PS3, pick it up on PS4 right the fuck now. Anyway, last video.
You know, I spent weeks trying to tell you guys that the cracks were starting to show here with Spider-Man PS4, but you didn't want to listen because you were like,
He says that a lot. The cracks are starting to show with whatever the hell he's talking about. He says it way too much, and then he just makes a fool of himself, which I'm pretty sure is the only reason people watch his videos, but I don't know. People could be insane enough to watch them casually. I don't.
too busy drinking Brian's Kool-Aid and too busy on the damn hype train. And now,
Where the fuck did that noise come from? Like, this isn't even a flaw, but just where the fuck did that noise come from?
yet here you are, watching my video review, because you're already bored out of your skull with Spider-Man PS4. And you know, you only have yourself to blame. Because I warned you. I told you guys this was going to happen. But again, you didn't want to listen because you were like, oh my god, Michael. That's what you were doing. Folks, welcome to my Spider-Man PS4 video review. Look, I know most of you are going to disagree, and I couldn't care less, but here's the thing about Spider-Man PS4. The graphics are terrible.
I mean, sure, I guess. They aren't awful. They're about on par with The Witcher 3, how it looks on Switch, but they aren't terrible. They look modern gen. They don't look as good as games like Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War, but they aren't awful. Whatever.
They really are. You know, and I'm not just going to talk about it, I'm going to show you. Okay? So that's what we're doing here in today's video. We're not just talking, we're showing, unlike Insomniac. So, You might be thinking, well, Michael, what are you talking about? How can the graphics be so terrible, according to you? Well, look at this clip here, okay? One moment, the game looks like a modern-day 2018 video game. Then you pan over to the left here, and it looks like a game that came straight out of 1998.
Oh yes, because a small glitch that could be nearly impossible to find is absolutely inexcusable for a company. Now, glitches that are in Fallout 76, those are inexcusable, but just his foot is slightly over the edge, it's fine. I saw a floating pizza box in the game. It isn't like one of the cutscenes glitched out and completely broke the game. Plenty of modern gen games have the foot hanging over the edge glitch. Like, you act like it's huge and it's gonna fucking blow up the game or something. I don't know.
Do better, Insomniac. This is inexcusable. How do you not hide the unplayable areas? Put some smog, put some fog in there. I went back to the Amazing Spider-Man 2, a PS3 game, and they did a better job at hiding the skybox, the unplayable areas. Of course Insomniac didn't do that, though, because they don't care. Again, it's all about the bands!
Okay, I think you guys have seen enough of the mentally insane side of Michael, so I'm gonna skip over every time he acts like that, which will be around 3 to 4 minutes of his full video. So, yeah.
But you guys don't care. Because in your eyes, it's all about style. It's all about presentation. You don't care about features. You don't care about anything else. Next, we move on to the boat people. And I know most of you are going to sit there and say, wait, Michael, that's just an Easter egg to Spider-Man 2. How is that an Easter egg to Spider-Man 2?
Okay, so I don't know if this is an Easter egg or not because I'm not a Spider-Man nerd, but the thing is, they aren't going to spend hundreds of hours of their time and resources to correctly render people that 70% of the people who play the game will never see. I haven't noticed it. I'm sure even some completionists haven't noticed it. Who knows? You might have photoshopped it. I don't know.
I just played Spider-Man 2. I have Spider-Man 2, unlike all of you. Okay, I own Spider-Man 2. I bought Spider-Man 2 when it came out. And I didn't see those people in Spider-Man 2. So you can't just sit there and say, oh, Michael, it's an Easter egg. That's what they want you to believe. You exposed the game, and they quickly had to come up with an excuse. But again, you don't care. I could go on and on and on about the graphics and the inconsistencies with the graphics. I really could. But I know none of you are going to budge. You're going to sit there and say, you're so wrong, Michael. I bought a PS4 Pro just for this game. Imagine plopping down $400 of your hard-earned money for this. Yikes.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. Why the hell would you buy a PS4 just for Spider-Man? Some system sellers would be like Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War and The Last of Us Remastered, maybe Persona 5, Uncharted 4, all that stuff. Not Spider-Man though. Sure, it's a good game and the story is absolutely phenomenal, but it's way too short. The combat feels clunky as hell, and yeah, they could have put a little bit more effort into the graphics. One of my friends, he bought the deluxe edition that came with all the DLC for $80, and like, there is no way in hell I would spend $80 on this game. Like, it's good, but like, I think it's maybe worth $30 with all its DLC. So, yeah, and the DLC really isn't even that good anyway.
Not to mention the fact that this game has no reflections, and the reflections that you do see are fake. It's just a sad situation all around. But again, you don't care, do you? Next, we talk about the world here in Spider-Man PS4. This is where they really drop the ball. Really drop the ball. Because this isn't a living, breathing world here in Spider-Man PS4. And I know the excuse is going to be, well, Michael, it's just a Spider-Man game. Hold your horses.
Why the hell does the world not feeling real matter? Breath of the Wild's world doesn't really feel alive, but that doesn't make it not one of the best games of all time. The Witcher 3's world is kind of just separated into smaller maps, but that still doesn't make it one of the greatest games of all time. The open world genre is so overpopulated, and did Spider-Man ever advertise it That it was going to have a huge immersive world? No, it was supposed to tell a good story and some pretty good gameplay. That was about it.
No. We're not going to go down that road and make excuses for Insomniac. It's just a Spider-Man game, so therefore that don't need to work, therefore that don't need to be much better, because it's just a Spider-Man game. And the crosswalks in Grand Theft Auto 4 work. Yet here in Spider-Man PS4, those small little details that you think don't matter add up in an open world game. That's what sets a great open world game apart from a generic one. Those details. And they forgot to include those details.
You know what? He has a good point. I'm giving this to him.
Here in Spider-Man PS4. And it's such a sad situation because if you go back to the Amazing Spider-Man 2, even the crosswalks work in that game.
Yeah, the crosswalks in that game might work sometimes, but that was only one time that he recorded it. So, okay.
The details matter. Okay? It's a 9 out of 10! It's a 9 out of 10, Michael!
Okay, this is nowhere near a 9 out of 10, maybe a 7 if I'm feeling generous. Like, the only thing I like about it is the story, and the web swinging is kind of fun, but that's it.
How is this game a 9 out of 10? A 10 out of 10? Even an 8 out of 10? When it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it is the same thing over and over again, but if the thing that's being repeated is well made, then it's fine. If it's shit, it's not fine. Zelda games are pretty repetitive, but that doesn't make them anywhere close to bad. Mario games are pretty repetitive, but that doesn't make those games anywhere close to bad. What makes a game bad is if it isn't fun and it's repetitive. Yeah, the sneaking in the game gets repetitive and it's bad, but it's only like 10% of the game. Whenever I was in the sneaking sections, it only took around 10 minutes at most.
But again, you don't care. Oh, and the web swinging? Oh. I was right about the web swinging, folks. I told you guys that this was going to happen. Folks, let me show you this. The web's literally attached to skies here in this game.
No, they don't. Are you fucking retarded? Do you know how many times I've fallen because I was too high?
So how can you sit there and say that they got the web swinging right? How can you sit there and say that this is the best web swinging ever in a Spider-Man game when they have webs attached to the skies?
In order to see that picture, you have to go out of your way into the camera mode and look up. Sure, Breath of the Wild has an infinite jump glitch, but there's no way in hell you're going to accidentally find it.
You guys want to harp on the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 and say, well, those games sick, Mac, they're disgrace to Spider-Man. Yeah, this game ain't doing much better, is it? They couldn't stick with their word. In our game, the web's actually attached to the buildings. It's all physics-based. We did it right. That's the one thing that we made sure to get right before moving on to anything else. Wrong!
Like I said before, you have to go out of your way through the camera system to see that the webs are slightly off from the buildings. Also, the movies do this a lot. What the hell is wrong with the games doing it?
You have webs that attach to nothing. And that's so unfortunate. Because, my God, they dropped the ball here with the web swinging in Spider-Man PS4. As it's all style over substance. You know, I went back to Spider-Man 2, folks. I'm jumping off in this clip the Freedom Tower, okay? And I'm doing the dive bomb. And as you can see, you know, it's like, okay, I'm jumping off the Freedom Tower. I'm Spider-Man! And then I do the same thing on another building that's not even as close to being as tall as the Freedom Tower, and it's the same freaking thing!
Yeah, you're gonna reuse engines. No shit. Basically everything he said in this video is just a nitpick.
It doesn't matter if you jump off of a 200-foot building or a 100-foot building, you're still gonna have that same dive bomb animation because the speed limit is there with the dive bomb. And everything else. And you know, there's a lot of oddities here in Spider-Man PS4. For example, there's limitations on where you can crawl and where you can't. Why is that a thing in place?
I don't know if I ever got to that, but I never experienced it, but it's been a while since I've played it, so I'm just gonna give this to him.
I go back to the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I go back to Spider-Man 2, and you can crawl wherever your heart desires. Yet here in Spider-Man PS4, we had to make limitations to make sure that this game was just as presentable as possible. We think you're gonna love it. Pre-order today. You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. So here's the thing. We could go on and on and on, and I mean I could. I really could. But I know none of you are going to budge. I know most of you are going to sit there and say, oh my God, how wrong could you be, Mackle? But here's the thing about Spider-Man PS4. You want my score? I score 1 through 10. You want it? I'm going to give it to you. You know what I give Spider-Man PS4? I give Spider-Man PS4 a 6 out of 10.
How could he? That's only above average, which is what this game is. Above average. No way. I literally gave Spider-Man a 6 out of 10, so that doesn't mean it sucks.
Now, why do I give Spider-Man PS4 a 6 out of 10? Well, it's simple. This game brings nothing new to the table.
The new thing it brings to the story is the really in-depth and original story. Have you seen any of the cutscenes?
This game doesn't even set itself apart from any other Spider-Man game that has come before it. It's the same old thing over and over and over and over and over again. We've been there and we've done that, Insomniac. It's a very, very average, dumbed down version of a Spider-Man experience. It's all about, again, style over substance. It's all about catering to the masses. You press a few buttons, you do some cool swings, and everyone's like a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10. What do I see? I see something that is very average. Is it necessarily the worst thing in the world? No. But I'll tell you right here, right now, there's definitely a room for improvement. And if you fail to see that, then you got your head up Brian's ass. And that's unfortunate.
Okay, so I'm gonna give him props. Unlike Young Defiant, he gave actual points. They were all nitpicks, but they were points. But he said the game sucks. A 6 out of 10 does not suck. A 6 out of 10 is fine, but there was a lot of dumb shit, which is what I would give it. It's nowhere near the best game on the PS4, and actually a lot of the stuff he says I can agree with. People compare him to Young Defiant, but hell no, he isn't that toxic. He actually seems like he's nice in person. Young Defiant seems like he'll beat the shit out of you if you talk to him and tell him that you watch hentai on Pornhub. So yeah, he's not as bad as Young Defiant, not even close, but he doesn't have any reasons to say why Spider-Man PS4 sucks. Like I said, it's above average. Definitely shouldn't have been nominated for Game of the Year. It'd be like Endgame or Rise of Skywalker getting nominated for Best Picture, or Undertale getting nominated for Game of the Year, but basically just clickbaited the video by saying the game sucks. So now basically just don't clickbait your videos saying something sucks. His channel isn't terrible, it's just not great. He's not a great critic. If you judge something before you've played it, you're not really a good critic. You can say, The Last of Us 2 might be pretty good because from what we've seen, it looks like they're going to tell a pretty good story again, but not, oh yeah, Spider-Man PS4 is hot garbage. Fuck the game, even though it's not even out yet, but, you know, freedom of speech, I guess. Yeah, so Michael Does Life isn't as bad as Young Defiant, but he's just so goddamn view hungry, and he gives some pretty good points sometimes, and I'll admit, I had a little trouble writing this video because of how well made his videos were. So this is just an update. After a week I wrote the script, he made 2 new videos saying how excited he was for Resident Evil 8, so I can actually say he does like stuff. I know reviewing things I like doesn't get me as many views as saying Endgame wasn't as good as it could have been, but try to get a little more positive, so that's really all I have to say. Okay, thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out my other commentaries. This one wasn't great, but there's still the Young Defiant video, which literally took me an entire month to make, and it's getting bombed by all of Young Defiant's hentai watching fans, so go check that out and like it. Be sure to subscribe, because at the moment we're like 11 subscribers away from 200 subscribers. Anyways, again, have a great day. I'll see you in the next video, and bye.